draining out the old 3000 GT. That's half the pay of this thing, is I'm gonna get some gas for the four-wheelers and stuff. I think that I figured out the issue with it. For 2 years, people have been messing with it. It's been bouncing around mechanics and stuff. No one can ever make it run right since the new motor went in, because the old motor jumped timing and bent the valves. It ran super rich when we got it back, and it wouldn't run unless you unplugged the mass airflow, which I think makes it divert back to some standard tune, some different tune, like a just limp tune. The fuel comes in here through this rail, around to the other rail, and out here, and then this little thing has a vacuum line that goes to the intake, and it doesn't open and let fuel start returning to the tank until the engine starts and makes vacuum. I think so that you have an extra blast of pressure for starting, probably cold starts. That line there had holes all in it, so it probably was never opening this valve, and we were just getting tons too much fuel pressure, which makes sense because it was getting gas in the oil smell, and it always smelled like gas and smoked on startup and everything. Not oil smoke, definitely fuel. So I tested the fuel pump. I tried going key on with it, unhooking the lines. Can't get anything to come out up here. This was in here because I was going to catch the gas in it. There's a thing they put you here to plug a jumper wire into and touch the positive terminal on the battery and override everything, even with the key off, and turn the fuel pump as a test. So I did that, and I got nothing. You can hear a relay or something click in here, but you get nothing from back. You can't hear a pump come on, no gas. So I'm pretty sure it killed the old pump. They were still limping it around, I guess, for fun with it smoking and everything. It killed the old pump. They had a new pump put in, and that lasted 1 day, like a year ago, before it died, and just has been sitting again. And I think that the excess fuel pressure, this thing not opening, there was like plier marks in the old line, so it definitely had a big hole, was flooding it out and making it run like shit. So now I'm draining the tank and taking the pump out, and I'll hook power directly to it once it's all out and see if it will crank off that. Then it's a wiring thing coming from front to back, and if not, then my hunch was right, and what's been stumping every mechanic that ever looks at the thing or does anything on it for a couple of years now is one little teeny vacuum line that was right there. Here's hoping I'm right on that. It's a pretty car. It's pretty much the best thing about it. The gas tank out of the GT and sending unit out. Somebody's gloriously greased the top of it, I guess, probably because it's a collection point for dirt, but I figured something out. The fuel pump came on when I put power direct to it, but it pops out of this thing, and this is what happened before that the mechanic said. This thing had popped out like that in the tank, so it just sprayed in the tank. It's a really quiet pump, so I guess I couldn't hear it before, probably. It's just not the greatest stable design down here, I guess. I'm just going to try and make some kind of a better clamp setup to hold it tighter. And why it would blow out in there is because that thing up front that opens with manifold vacuum to let the fuel start returning to the tank after it starts, well, the line was bad, so it would have been over-pressurizing, and I guess the blowout point, rather than a fuel line, which is what it usually is when you have something like that, was this pump just popping out of there. So hopefully I can just stick this in, stick it back together, and it works. We'll see. I pipe clamped on the fuel pump just to make sure. I put a little piece of fuel line under it as a spacer to maintain, you know, the same spacing as it's supposed to have, and put a little zip tie, not too tight, just around here to try and keep this from moving. Hopefully keep this aligned for a little longer in the tank. Now, focus camera. Now the failure mode, instead of being inside the tank, will probably be a fuel line somewhere exploding if the little valve does not open under the hood. But at least it won't be inside the gas tank. So we're going to send it and see what it does. Got the tank back in. Checked that fuel was coming out of the return thing with the vacuum line fixed to the little valve on the fuel rail. And before, if you hit the gas at anything under 2,000, it would just fall on its face. And now it really takes off, so it's running like it's supposed to again.